first of all, Marsau didn't ask you about speaking because he didn't have plans for you to speak, Tiffany. So you need to stop. Martell asked you about speaking because Martell didn't know what the hell was going on because Martell don't want to speak. Marsau didn't ask you about speaking. Okay, so get the story straight, Tiffany. Y'all know how Tiffany do. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brenda Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brenda Yvonne. Here at my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions, y'all, of our favorite shows. It's Saturday night, so y'all already know we gotta talk on Love and Marriage Huntsville, y'all. This is season 6, I believe, episode 15, titled Give Blaque to the Community. Before we get into it, y'all, I definitely need y'all to hit that thumbs up button. Please support your girl. Also subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what you think of the episode. Let me know what y'all thought of that mid-season trailer, because that was all crazy. I was like, do we need this break or not? I don't know. Also, like I said, share the video where you like to share your content. Now let's get into it. So the episode basically picks up where they left off last week with Marsau jamming up Stormi for that $100 and being tacky. Now, Marsau was wrong, but he did eventually start, like, he was basically trolling us and trolling Stormi in that moment. Like, I couldn't even take him seriously anymore. And Marsau's definitely the type to get you to 100 and then he pulled back to 0 and then you the one looking crazy. And that's exactly what he did to Stormi that moment, because Stormi was like, let me tell you about your husband talking to Tisha. And he was like, oh no, I came over here and asked for, did you need help? And then I said, hey, you know, what about that $100? And she's like, no, that's not how you came over there. And she's like, I'm gonna have to get Courtney. And then he was like, no, oh, so I came at you wrong. Okay, so how would you like me to come at you in the future? And she's like, next time you do it right the first time. Next time you do it right the first time. So she's like having an attitude, and he's just like talking in a very calm, like respectful voice. So I caught on to what Marsau was doing the first time I watched the episode. I was like, oh yeah, Marsau's definitely trolling Stormi right now. And then he was like, oh, so you didn't like how I did, you know, I came at you? And then he's like, okay, well, you nailed me enough. Like, you got me. You really told me off. And so then she's like, did y'all get y'all sponsorship? He's like, no, we didn't actually. He's like, oh, okay. She's like, that's why you need that $100. He's like, yeah, actually, I need every bit of my money I can get. And so in a confessional later on, Tisha and Marsau were talking about, like, you know, the event looks good. All the, you know, people paid their money for their spot. And so Marsau did make a comment saying, like, well, almost everyone paid. He's like, I could think about 2 or just 1 person who didn't pay. So Marsau was being shady. He was trolling that girl, y'all. He not saying he wasn't wrong. He was definitely wrong to even fix his mouth to ask for that $100, but he was trolling her. Okay, so anyway, moving on, everybody's mixed. You know, the event gets started. The event looks good. The Blaqu Expo looked good. Okay, go ahead, Tisha and Marsau. I have to give them credit where credit's due. It looked good to me. It didn't look like prom or whatever Stormi said later on. Even Mel gave props to it. So anyway, speaking of Mel, we see Mel in the car with her brother Marcus. Marcus is in town. Mel's talking about the show she has coming up. I guess she has a show in Boston the next day. So that's why I remember she said she couldn't do the event. And so she said she's going to go and support Letitia and see how everything's doing. Okay, so then Marcus asked her, you know, what about Martell? Martell's going to be part of the event. And so she's like, yeah, Martell, you know, he was definitely at the comeback meetings. And he's like, well, how are you going to do with Martell being there? She's like, well, I know how to ignore Martell real good, okay? So they showing everybody there, mixing, mingling. When Melody, it's so many M names, y'all, they're gonna drive me crazy. When Melody and her brother got in the event, Mel's walking around, she's like, oh, this is nice, this looks so good, yes, everything's so beautiful, decorated. She said in her confessional, she was like, you know, Tisha, event looks good, the expo looks good, it's well organized, it looks well decorated, yes, good for you. I said, okay, man, I liked it, she liked it. So anyway, by the way, I liked Mel's confessional look, and I like that hairstyle she be having with the braids and the wavy hair. That's cute too. So anyway, so you know, everyone's mixing and mingling. Tisha got her white on, she looked cute. Maurice talks to Martell, and Maurice is like, where's your Inez wine booth? Like, what's good? And so Martell's like, oh, you know, I wasn't gonna do it this time. He was like, why not? He's like, you know, I didn't have like 3 wine tasting events already here in Huntsville, and you know, I just didn't want to do it this time. I just want to give somebody else a chance to do it. Martell, you sound dumb. as a box of rocks. And I'm sorry to say that, but you really do. So even Maurice in his confessional was like, you know, Martell, like, this is your moment. He's like, you know, when Mel and Martell was together, you could tell there's a clear division of duties, and Mel is a marketing genius, and Martell is missing the expo. Like, this is your time to market, to show the people at the expo. Like, what are you doing? And that's what we're all wondering. Like, what is he talking about? Other people show their wine off. Like, Martell, Inez ain't in the Rite Aid by my house, so you need to be marketing your stuff so you can become nationwide. Like, what is you talking about? You sound dumb. So anyway, Martell did go talk to, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but it was basically a company that mentors people about getting into business, the whole process through. So he talked to the gentleman about that, to kind of put a word in for his brother and to be on the lookout for his brother. What is his name? Martez, I think is the brother's name. So Martez did come to the event. Martez looked very nice. We also saw Marsau asking Mel if she was going to speak. Like, can he talk her into speaking? And she was like, nah, Marcus made a joke like he's going to speak, but he ain't speaking. We saw Maurice talking to Tisha about Kimmie, because he's like, I got to see where Kimmie is at. And so Kimmie was getting her last radiation treatment that day, I guess. And so Tisha's like, I feel bad because usually you're the one going with her and I got you here. And he's like, well, now, it's getting okay, better, and like she's okay by herself. But I still felt bad. Like, I still felt bad that Kimmie had to do that by herself and come to the event. And shout out to Kimmie, because that lady went to radiation, came to the event looking stunning, wearing high heels, had a booth, had to mix and mingle and give energy and work the room and speak on the stage. I said, y'all better give Kimmie her props. Y'all better give her props. Like, I wish she could have went home and rested. Like, that just sucks. And speaking of Kimmie, we did see her talking to one of the people visiting the expo, and they were really just saying how much they appreciated her putting her story on the platform and sharing with people. And Kim was like, yeah, it was hard because, Kimmie did share previously that she originally wasn't going to do it. And she talked about that at the last reunion, I believe. And so in her confessional, she said, it was really hard telling her story, and she's glad that she did because initially she wasn't going to do it. And so, the lady was just happy. She was like, now people are going to get checked more for their mammograms and all that good stuff. And it's very true. So Kimmie, definitely, we appreciate you putting your story up there, girl. We really do. And just you giving all this energy to the Blaque Expo. She said, she went out of love, and she really did go to the event out of love. Let's see, who else do we see? We see Martell talking to his brother. He's like, I put in the word for you with these business people. They're going to help you. Sorry, y'all, my eyes twitching, from start to finish. So then we see Marcus come, and so Marcus and Martell had their moment, y'all. So Marcus asked Martell how he's doing, everything going, are they getting along? And Martell's like, oh, yeah, it's getting good. It's getting better. He's like, I'm just hoping, it's been 3 years of separation now. And hopefully, Mel can, finally let her walls down. And we don't need the court to decide, things for our kids. And we can figure it out on our own. And I'm like, Martell, aren't you the reason why we in the court anyway? Like, isn't it your problem? Didn't you get it started with the courts? Am I wrong about that? Let me know in the comments. Didn't Martell get the whole custody stuff started? And he was the one harassing Mel, but he want her to let her walls down after 3 years. Oh, okay, Martell. So Martell's like, yeah, hopefully we can get it, good with your support. So Marcus sipping his drink. He's like, say what? Like, what support? What? He like snickered. And then Martell's like, your support of, your sister and stuff. And he's like, okay, yeah, like, y'all just keep doing what you're doing, hanging there mirrors for the kids and all that. And so they showed the flashback scenes, because y'all know Marcus and Martell have had their issues. Martell don't like Marcus. That's the issue, basically. And so Martell walked away saying Marcus is so immature, and he dogged him out in the confessional, y'all, talking about, oh, yeah, Marcus, he's still this. He was cursing and everything. I was like, Martell, you need to stop. You really need to grow up. So then, like I said, everybody's mixing me. When we see Letitia and Marsau's daughters have their hair care booth. That picture was so cute. I can't think of their name. Was it Macy and Mila? Something like that. Somebody was selling the sugar scrub. We see Stormi's booth. Speaking of Stormi got a call from Courtney that there was an issue with the whole shipment. They had to get to New York. So remember, they had to get a big shipment to New York, and Courtney had to work with the team and get the truck up there. And I guess there's like labels it's a bunch of labels they're missing. And so that means a bunch of other stuff got misprinted and like over 100 bottles or something. So Stormi was really PO'd about that. She was like, she feels like she really needs to be there, but she got to be here at the expo, and she just gonna hope everything works out. Hopefully it does, but I'm like, that's a huge mistake. Like, they need to get some organization down to Canvas Beauty. I'm not throwing shade at their business. Like, I want Stormi to do well. I'm supporting Black women in business for sure, so I hope they can get better organization at the warehouse. Quit hiring them family members, girl. Get you a manager to run the warehouse. So anyway, Stormi was stressed out about that, but there's nothing much she can do. We saw a touching moment with Mel and Martell. So, and y'all, I'm jumping around the expo, just giving y'all the highlighted conversations that were highlighted on the show, so just stay with me, okay? So, Martell is like, oh, he hasn't seen Mel in so long. He's like, I know, how it is, y'all gotta do it for the kids. And Stormi's like, oh yeah, Mel's like, And so he was like, I know, I know my brother, and you too, I know. And he was like, me, what about me? And so they hugged it out, and Melody was saying how, of course, she's known Martell since she was 22 years old, so she's been around all his family, and she remembers having talks with Martell back in the day, trying to encourage him to do the right thing. So seeing him at a positive event like that was just touching. And y'all know how it is when the parents break up, and then the in-laws, they still like that person, because that's how it is with my family. Like, my dad's side, they still be loving my mom. They be like, where's your mom? They love my mom. So I got that part for sure. And Mel introduced her brother to Martell's brother. There also was a scene where Marsau and Maurice were asking Martell, so where's your friend? Where's Sheree? And he was like, oh, she in California, visited a friend. And he made some weird smirk at the camera. This scene, a lot of these scenes in this episode, they was playing in our faces. It was definitely overproduced. But that scene in particular was very overproduced. They was definitely trolling us in that scene. And they was like, oh yeah, her phone cut off. Oh, she has been going to church. Oh yeah. Like, who cares? So anyway, Martell shared in the confessional that, him and Sheree, yeah, they still text. They still keep in contact. That's his friend, girl. Anything for the storyline, right, Martell? Okay, so then the Whitlows come, right? So Tiffany and Lewis come. Tiffany is bothered because she wasn't invited to the event to speak. Okay, so Tiffany is standing around with Maurice and Marsau, her husband Lewis, and then Martell came over there. They all just kind of having small talk because they're shocked that Tiffany was there because she ready to pop. She said she trying to get this baby out of here. I thought she would have had the baby by now because she do like she ready to bust it wide open. So Martell gonna ask Tiffany and Lewis, oh, are you guys speaking? You guys are gonna be speaking today, right? And so then they were like, well, we just barely found out the event 2 days ago. And so then Marsau said in his confessional, like, he didn't even expect to see Tiffany there. So they showed a flashback from the day where they went, I think it was last week, I believe, when they went to look at the event space with everybody, and they showed Letitia calling Tiffany and, talking to her about the event, and Tiffany was saying, like, my doctor got me on bed rest, like, girl, my feet is swollen, my blood pressure is low, I've been having contractions, so, doctor said I gotta stay put, but is there anything I could do remote? And Letitia was like, no, girl, it's fine. Even Marcel was like, girl, no, like, we need you to stay put and rest. So Marcel in his confession was like, I was surprised to even see Tiffany there because she's supposed to be staying put because the doctor said, and she about to pop. And he's like, plus, I don't even know what she would have to talk about. Shade. So then Tiffany went to go talk to Stormi. And Tiffany was like, girl, you did all this? Looking at Stormi's booth, right? And so Stormi's like, yeah, girl, I was just stressed out because she told her what happened with all the labels being misprinted and all that. And then she's like, plus, I couldn't even pull nobody from my warehouse to be here. Like, I had my mother-in-law and Michelle. Y'all see Michelle? He was putting the recipes together, doing the Canvas Beauty. I was like, well, Michelle be working overtime over there. She's like, I had to get Michelle, my mother-in-law, and my friend over here to help me. I couldn't even pull nobody from the warehouse. And she's like, Tiffany's like, yeah, this Tisha need to be happy that you here. Because, like, without your space, girl, like, the event wouldn't even be nothing. Like, the event wouldn't even be popping like that. I was like, Tiffany, be quiet, girl. So then, Stormi's like, yeah, girl, you know what else crazy happened today? So Marsau, he gonna come over there asking me about $100 for the booth rent and all this. And so Tiffany was like, girl, what? And so then they get into this whole discussion about the event being unorganized, and Tiffany was saying that, like, you know, oh yeah, I'm just offended. They wouldn't even ask me to speak. Like, I have businesses and stuff. And Tiffany is telling, right there in the moment, telling Stormi, like, yeah, I was just talking to Marsau over there, and he gonna ask me, so, okay, what order are we going in? Okay, when are you speaking? And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, I just found about this 2 days ago. First of all, Marsau didn't ask you about speaking because he didn't have plans for you to speak, Tiffany, so you need to stop. Martell asked you about speaking because Martell didn't know what the hell was going on because Martell don't want to speak. Marsau didn't ask you about speaking. Okay, so get the story straight, Tiffany. Y'all know how Tiffany do. Okay, so everybody got to go get ready to sit down and speak. So Martell peeked behind the screen and saw Mel sitting there in the audience. He's like, wait a minute, what is Mel doing? She's sitting there in the audience. She not coming up here to speak. And Kimmie's like, no, she doesn't want to do it. Like, what are you talking about? And then so Martell's like, oh, I don't want to go up there. I don't want to go up there. And they was like, what is the problem? Like, you will be okay. And he's like, I'm 41. I don't want to do it. And so in his confessional, he's saying, like, he struggles with public speaking and it's really hard for him. I'm like, but you on TV. Like, somebody in the comments let me know that struggles with public speaking. Like, I don't have a problem with public speaking. Like, if you told me to make a speech real quick right now, I would jump up and make a speech for you. I don't even know what I would be talking about, okay? Like, I used to have a problem with public speaking when I was younger, but it was kind of one of those things I really worked on and forced myself to overcome. And I know everyone's not like that. People have issues with public speaking for sure. But I was like, you're on TV and the camera's following you around, and people have access to drag you on the Twitter streets like we do every Saturday night. So how are you afraid to do public speaking? I guess it's maybe the speaking part. I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, I guess I kind of can get it. Maybe if he doesn't feel like he articulates himself well enough to, like, present a point, maybe that could be the issue. I don't know. Anyway, they had to talk Martell off the ledge. So he didn't want to go up there and sit down. Marsau joking around how Stormi was mad because he came for his $100 to collect. So then they did sit down. I don't think Martell did sit on the stage, but he was the guy going in the audience asking the people the questions. That's what he did. He got on his Oprah Winfrey Jimmy Jones tip and did that part. I was like, Martell, what is the problem? Okay, so anyway, the lady was hosting. Her name was Bianca Moore. I know a lady named Bianca Moore that worked for VMRC, and I'm sure it was not the same lady. But anyway, so she was asking, you know, about their failures in business. So they all shared about that. And Maurice said, you know, he's failed in business 100 times. Like, that's the point. Marcel was like, you're going to have, you know, your losses. You're going to eat the cost, pay the cost, all that. Stormi touched on, you know, having passion and not being worried about the money. It's low-key shade to Marsau, but it is what it is. Tisha was talking about, you know, not being afraid to ask for help and not being in so much competition with your girlfriend, but being like, girl, I want to get to where you at, so let me see how to get to where you at. I definitely agree with that. Tisha, I feel that way about this YouTube thing, because YouTube is still a new, you know, platform for me. This is not my regular day job. You know, y'all know I'm a teacher, okay? So, you know, I'm still, even though I've been on here over a year now, I'm still figuring things out and willing to learn from all of y'all. So anyway, so they're asking different questions. The lady was asking them different questions like that. Then Martell went to the audience, and people in the audience are asking different questions about how to start a business and all that. Some guy asked about venture capitalism, like basically getting people to invest in your business. And so Marsau was giving some roundabout, long-winded answer. Didn't really sound like he was know what he was talking about. Tiffany threw shade at him in the confessional, saying, like, you know, you could tell Marsau's stumbling over his words, and he doesn't even know how to answer the question. And he's like, you know who knows about VC? Like, I know about VC, talking about venture capitalism. Or is that what it was? Anyway, I don't know what VC is, apparently. So then another girl asked about, you know, how do you start a small business if you got bad credit? And so Maurice touched on that because he said he had a real bad credit score, and that's how he started his Credit One business, just because of that need that he had, and it came from the place of pain and all that good stuff. Okay, so, you know, the Blaqu Expo was a success. Marsau and Tisha talked about in the confessional they feel good about it, but Tisha need a drink now. Now we go over to Courtney and Stormi house, and they get into bed, they tired. Courtney tired from trying to deal with that whole fiasco with the getting the supplies up to New York and all that, and working it out. So Stormi lay in the bed, tells him about how Marsau came with her asking about his $100. And so Courtney's like, you want me to talk to him? And she's like, yeah, somebody did tell him that he acted like a B word and all that. And so Courtney said he gonna have to talk to Marsau, but right now he tied. Courtney didn't look too bothered about all that, to be honest, but all right. So then they got on the whole topic of having another baby, and Courtney basically shared about how like Stormi lost so much blood, like to the point where the doctor's just pouring blood in the buckets. And Stormi said she didn't even know, she didn't see it, she was out of it. And he was like, yeah, that was scary, like to see you like that, like you were helpless, like you almost lost your life, and I just can't see you do that again. I cannot have you go through that again. I'm sorry. He's like, I don't really want someone else to carry the baby either, but like, you know. So then Courtney thought he was saying like, you know, no to each one. He's like, that's what I'm saying. He's like, I don't want to surrogate, but basically, if that's the only way we could do it without you going through it, then I'll have to do that. But he's like, yeah, you was losing so much blood. And so she was like, well, I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you were traumatized like that. He's like, well, I couldn't be, you know, they're passing out and all that. And he's like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. And I'm like, yeah, you know, that makes sense. And that's scary. We're glad that Stormi made it through that. That sounds really, really traumatizing and horrible. So I don't blame Courtney for that. And they got money for a surrogate. They can make that happen. So maybe that'll be a new storyline for next season. Who knows? So, okay, last scene, which is where all the drama popped off, y'all, was when Tiffany decided to invite Tisha, Kimmie, and Stormi down to dinner, lunch, brunch, whatever they was having. Because Tiffany said in her confessionals that she wants to talk to Tisha about how she felt about being excluded from the Blaqu Expo event. And she just wants to get some constructive criticism. Nobody asked you for this criticism, Tiffany, but go on, girl. Tisha said she's glad, you know, to meet up with the girls after the event. She felt like it went well, so she gonna see what Tiffany got to say. They get down there, and they're talking about, yeah, the event was really good. You know, Tisha's thanking everybody for coming. They were asking Tisha basically like, okay, girl, so like, you know, it went into the plan and stuff. Like, how was it? Like, and Stormi's like, yeah, because we don't really know what happened. And then Tiffany's like, yeah, because, you know, I see Stormi is up there going to talk, and she's like, what are you doing up there? She's like, because, you know, well, me and Lewis, we didn't get invited to talk. You know, we're entrepreneurs, so, you know, I didn't really get it. And so then Kimmie and Tisha was like, girl, what? And so then Tisha was like, girl, I text you. Like, what are you talking about? I called you and I texted you. I told you about it. And so Tiffany's like, no, you texted me the day before, 2 days before about sponsorship or something. And then she's like, no, but you didn't include me in the event. And so Kimmie was like, no, don't do that. Kimmie's like, you're definitely, the Whitlow's name were brought up from the very beginning. They showed us the flashback, Tiffany, so I don't know what you're talking about. The doctor told you to sit down, so that's probably why they didn't have you speak, because you were supposed to be sitting down popping that baby out. But instead, you want to run your mouth. So anyway, Tisha was like, no, we definitely had you guys in mind from the beginning. So then somehow the topic, y'all, switches gears to talking about the whole thing when Stormi brings up Marsau asking her for the $100. She's like, yeah, the one thing I didn't like, was that Marsau gonna come up to me and ask me for that $100. And she's like, I feel like, we did the whole walkthrough. You could have brought that up then. Now, granted, he could have definitely said, whoever's gonna have a booth needs to present $100. But I would think the core people who are speaking wouldn't need to also have $100 for a booth. But I don't know. I've never put on the expo, so I don't know. So anyway, Tisha was like, I'm glad you brought that up because, I talked to Marsau about how he came at you. I didn't like how he did that. I wasn't happy with that. But I also did want to talk to you about it as well because I didn't like the way you handled that as well. I didn't like your response. So, of course, Stormi gets mad. She's like, what did you talking about my response? Like, you're not going to tell me how to react to anything. Your husband should not be coming up to me asking me for no $100. And so Tisha's like, yes, I know. I'm trying to say, like, I talked to Marsau about that. She's like, I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. She's like, I'm addressing you right now in this moment. And so even Kimmie is trying to help back Tisha up, okay? Kimmie was there. So then Tisha was like, I didn't see how he initially came at you. And so Kimmie's like, that's what she's saying. She didn't see it, but she did talk to him about it. And so Stormi's like, well, then speak on it then. And then she was like, okay, well, I didn't like how Marsau came at you, but she's like, well, I also didn't like how you responded, because, you know, in things of business, you know, you can't be responding like that. You got to deal with it. You got to be able to have a proper conversation and deal with things as they come and move on and all that. So Stormi's like, oh, you ain't gonna tell me how to feel. You ain't gonna tell me how to react. That's what you're not gonna do. No, no, no. So Stormi popping off in a whole different way. And I don't think Tisha was coming with that kind of energy. So it threw Tisha off. And so Tisha's like, that's not what I'm doing. She was like, I don't understand. Like, as friends, you know, wouldn't we be able to come to each other as friends and tell each other like something bothered them? And so Stormi's like, oh, we ain't there yet. And so Tisha's like, girl, like, what is your problem? Like, clearly your problem. So girl, sis, speak your mind. Like, what is going on? She's like, no, the problem is the way your husband came at me about the $100, and you sitting up here trying to come at me, trying to tell me how to feel. You're not going to tell me any day of the week how to react to anything somebody tell me. And all that. And so Tisha was like, wait, what? And she's like, I don't know what, you know, all this is coming from. And she's like, girl, I'm not trying to tell you how to react. I'm trying to have a conversation with you about it right now. And so she was like, if I had a problem with your husband, I would think, you know, I would be able to address it as well with him. And so Stormi's like, oh, you ain't got, that's what you're not going to do. You're not going to have a problem with him. That's not what you're not going to do. And so Tisha was like, girl, like, what are you doing? And so Stormi's like, what, you bothered? You upset? And so Kimmie was like, what? Like, girl, you're being very patronizing right now. And so Tisha was like, girl, like, you know, if you wanted me to come jump across this table, like, I used to be that girl back in the day, but I'm not doing that now today. And so Stormi's like, go ahead then, get active then. Come on, get active then. And Tisha was like, girl, let me get out of here. That's not what I'm about. Like, I can't have a conversation. Let me go. Tisha did her best melody, Cherie, didn't she? She said, let me just go. She ain't here for it. So then she told Tiffany, don't invite me to no BS like this again. This is my thing, y'all. And y'all can hate my opinion. You can debate me in the comments if you want to, or you can agree in the comments if you want to. Just comment. Anyway, okay, I get Marsau was tacky. Hard stop. Marsau was tacky. Marsau played in Stormi's face all day. In my opinion, Stormi shouldn't even have to give no $100 because she kind of did save the event because Mel wasn't going to present. Now, if she was told, you know, if they did, even if Kimmie, you know, everyone who presented still had to pay booth rent, okay, that's what it is. Okay, they got to get their money one way or the other. But Marsau definitely brought it up in a tacky way. I'm not taking that away from them at all. Does Tisha have the right to tell Stormi how to react or feel? No, Tisha does not have the right to say how Stormi should have reacted or felt. Now, Stormi's reaction wasn't bad business per se, but I can see what Tisha is saying as well. It's like that whole, like, I'm gonna get Courtney. Like, it wasn't a I'm gonna get Courtney situation. Like, it wasn't. Stormi was making it like I don't want to use the word hood, y'all. Stormi was making it something that it really wasn't. And I think that's what Tisha was getting at. Maybe she didn't articulate that clearly. Is that Stormi was turning it into something that it wasn't. Like, Tisha is trying to keep it business. But it was unprofessional for Marsau to do it in the first place. Okay, so we're not going to take that away from Marsau. Follow me. The thing that Stormi does that I don't like, this is what made me not like Stormi from the beginning. And I started back liking Stormi again, especially this season. And when Stormi went on her apology tour, and she really got to know Destiny, she really got to know Tiffany, and she really, like, she showed us her business side and all that. Like, I started really liking Stormi. I didn't like when she first came on the show because she was very much giving, I'm gonna be, you know, Mel's co-bully or whatever. But now, you know, we see Stormi come out on her own. Okay, we like Stormi. We see that she can form friendships outside of Mel. Good. But she did, in this scene, that thing she did with Destiny at that Galentine's party. And that's what the parts of Stormi I do not like. And I don't like that she did that. That whole, like, okay, so what's up then? Okay, then get active. Like, all that, like, extra nonsense that the girls, the Love of Marriage Huntsville, are not giving. Like, Kimmie don't talk like that on any day of the week. Tisha don't really talk like that on any day of the week unless she need to. Okay, Kiki give more of that than Tisha ever will. Like, Mel don't talk like that except for when she got into Miss Wanda. Like, Tiffany definitely don't talk like that. So I'm not saying she right or wrong for how she talk, because, you know, people come from different backgrounds and all that. And I know Stormi, you know, was crying about how people was calling her, ghetto and said she sound hood and all that. It's not her accent that make her sound like that. It's when she do stuff like she did that moment with Tisha, all that, like, oh, because you not going to talk to my husband like that. Oh, because you won't ever do. Come on, get active. It's going to be like that, bet like that. Like all that stuff. That's why Destiny was clowning her at the Valentine's party, being like, that's what's up, that's what's up. Because it's like, girl, no one's doing all that extra stuff you doing. Like, taking it to the streets. No one's doing that, Stormi. Like, I'm not saying you didn't have the right, because you weren't like unclassy the way you handled it with Marsau. I like the fact that you called him low vibrational. Like, that energy you gave Marsau in that moment to me didn't bother me. I think the like saying, oh, I'm gonna get Courtney, all that was the part that Tisha was like, it wasn't that deep. But granted, Marsau made it that deep coming over there, but Marsau was actually playing in that girl's face too. And Marsau was tacky. I'm not taking away from Marsau being tacky. I just don't like when Stormi does all that extra unnecessary, like, nook if you buck stuff that nobody else is doing. And I think that's where Tisha was like, girl, bye. So anyway, we on our break. I don't know if Love and Marriage DC coming next. Like, first of all, we got 15 episodes and then we gotta take a break. Like, how many more episodes we gotta do, Carlos? And we come back in September. Lord, Carlos always doing this. Anyway, y'all, stay tuned. We're going to talk about Love and Marriage Detroit next. If you're a Ready to Love fan, make sure you catch my Ready to Love Season 8 day in Dallas. Watch the first 2 episode reviews on my channel, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.